after retirement, I had a lot of time on my hands, and so I began writing, and some of it was published, and I wrote a lot just for my own use and for my family's use. And so one, I remember particularly, I must have been 5 or 6 years old. I wasn't old enough to read, but my brother took me to a movie, a silent movie, and of course the words were listed under each scene, and he wrote the words to me. So I'll read this as I remember it. The earliest remembrance I have going to the movie picture show, as they were called back then, was a silent picture shown in Candor Theater. I had not started to school and obviously could not read the words under each scene, so my brother read them to me. Looking back, it would seem that would have been a distraction to others, but I suppose it was accepted at that time, as I was probably not the only one to whom the words were being read. The next movie house I recall was the Troy Theater, which was owned and operated by Mr. D. Holt. It was located a block or two north in North Troy, north of the hotel in Troy, near Mr. Near Shaw's grocery store, and not far from the roller mill. Much later, I took my date there to see the famous movie Gone with the Wind. It was a 4-hour film with a 30-minute intermission midway. The cost of the ticket was $1.10, which was unheard of in those days. Those 2 tickets took a large chunk out of my $9.30 monthly salary I received for driving a school bus. Sometime in the 30s, the Full brothers, who owned and operated a show in Bisco, opened the Dixie Theater in Troy near Wimpy's Lunch and Pool Room. As an added attraction, they offered a double feature on Saturday and dime night on Wednesdays. As for the Wednesday night special, I always suspected they made more money from the sale of popcorn than from the ticket sales. This was, of course, before candy, soft drinks, and other goodies were offered in the theater lobbies. One rather comical event which occurred on one of my Saturday night outings comes to mind. My best friend and I walked to Troy to see the 7 o'clock movie, and as we often did during the summer months, we both smoked pipes occasionally, and when the movie was over, as we exited the theater and started the light up, we hesitated and realized that we might be seen by someone smoking the pipes. As we began our homeward trek, we stepped off a sidewalk into Mrs. Blair's yard, where there was a fence, where a fence stands now. We stood under the shadow of a big magnolia tree. As we struck our matches, a lady walked up the sidewalk and saw us and hollered, "And those 2 little boys are going to be sick." I don't know if my friend's parents knew he smoked, but I'm sure my parents did not know that I was smoking. As I became older, I realized that my parents knew not only of my smoking, but probably of many more of my vices as well. My friend and I later went separate ways, but kept in touch over the years until he died a few years ago. When I was perhaps 13 or 14, my brother and his wife came on a Saturday afternoon and invited me to go to the Almeida Theater in Albemarle. I, of course, accepted their invitation and changed my clothes in a hurry, and what we now call a New York Minute. When we arrived there was a long line waiting to get into the theater. This was a first for me. We finally reached the entrance, and an usher with a flashlight seated us. This was also a first for me. The movie was the popular Alexander's Ragtime Band, starring Tyrone Power, Alice Faye, and others. It was a great movie, and a short time later a minibus saw the same stars in rows of Washington Square. As my fellow old-timers and I like to say, they don't make movies like that anymore. I'm so thankful for this and many other memories of events that occurred in my youth. Vivian W. Green, Aberdeen.